Erik knew when I married him that in terms of priorities, God was here, the church was here, and he was here. And so he he married me anyway. Oh my gosh.
One of my problems that I had is I felt that I didn't feel the Spirit properly. I would pray and pray, trying to get God to answer me, and I just didn't feel that he would answer my prayers. And there came a point in our marriage where I was finally able to tell her how I felt. There's something wrong with me. Why doesn't God answer me? I don't know why I don't get these answers. She was very loving and very supportive and said, well, we'll go on this spiritual journey and we'll figure out what's wrong with you and we'll get it fixed.
So we were in Deseret Book, and I saw there was a new biography of Joseph Smith called Rough Stone Rolling. And I thought that sounded interesting, so I bought it for Erik, figuring it would help buoy up his testimony.
And I began reading this book. And it was kind of interesting and odd because there were a lot of things in that book that didn't match up with what I had learned about the history of the church. So I began following up all of his footnotes and went over to the public library and picked up this big stack of books, and I began reading and reading and reading. Literally within 24 hours, my belief in the church was gone. And I was just angry and hurt and confused and devastated, and realized, what am I going to tell Shaunalei? What am I going to tell my wife? And I start dumping all this stuff on her that I had learned, this and this and this and this, and thinking, I guess, that somehow she was going to just say, oh great, the church isn't true. Wonderful. Well, that wasn't how it worked out. She was in shock and she's just freaking out.
And I go in our bedroom, because I had been gone on a trip. I go in our bedroom and I'm looking at the titles of these books and I'm not familiar with them, and I'm assuming instantly that these are anti-Mormon literature, and I get mad and I'm like, how dare you bring these into our bedroom, our sanctuary? And I was so offended and so upset and angry. This isn't what was supposed to happen by our reading church history. A spiritual journey was supposed to free up the flow of revelation. There were days I couldn't even look at him. I was so distraught. I would love to share with people who are suffering that pain. I know what it feels like to be despairing of your marriage.
I'm going to lose my family. She's going to marry someone else. My kids are going to be taught that their dad is a bad person. And I was just crushed. And then I realized that even that, I could survive that. But it hasn't happened yet. I had to ask myself, is this worth it? And I knew that I loved her. I loved our family. I loved our children. And I figured the best I can do is be the best husband I can be. If that isn't sufficient, then nothing is going to be sufficient anyway. But at least I won't have to look back with regret. I tried to find every way I could to serve her, to love her, and
my kitchen was the cleanest it had been for months. By taking care of things that would help my life be better, it helped him to feel more loving toward me, even when he was very frustrated when I couldn't and wouldn't listen to what he was saying.
But I also realized that I had to shut up. I had to not talk about things. I had to not go into all the details of what I had learned about church history.
Otherwise I put up emotional barriers.
Put up barriers. And yet, I also needed to make sure that we didn't shut down, that we didn't close off communication. It was just hard to be in a position where my integrity demanded I do one thing, and her integrity demanded that she do something else. That made it really hard, because how do you fix that?
And the compromises, there had to be compromises made for this marriage to survive it. And I think the fact that we would be open and real about our feelings, about our fears, was helpful. And when I would see him tearfully crying and trying to describe to me how he felt so completely misunderstood by me, by his parents, by all of our neighbors. Seeing his pain gave me compassion. I was given, in a sense, the gift, the grace of empathy. He never, after the first initial push, he never made me feel like I had to accept his perspective. I think that was really important. Eventually I was able to say, I think I'm ready, Erik. You told me once about this certain issue, that priesthood restoration discrepancy. What was that about? And he was so good not to just go, oh, she's asking a question. No, he's like, if you want to study that, it's in that book.
She had to make her own journey. I couldn't push that on her. I had to love and accept her for exactly who she was. And
you told me he could never entertain the thought that I would change. He had to, in his own psyche, say, my wife will live and die a Mormon, and I'm okay with that. If your marriage is worth it, if your marriage is good, don't give up. Because a good marriage can survive a rift in faith, a faith transition, a faith change. He came to church when I wasn't interested, and I would attend over another denomination when I wasn't interested, and the support we gave each other solidified our marriage. And oh my gosh, who we are today, having gone through something so difficult, it's amazing, it's exciting, it's beautiful. We have so many adventures ahead of us in our minds and our thoughts, and we may not be on the same page spiritually. We aren't, actually.
No, we're not.
Where, in terms of our theology today, we're not in the same place, but that's okay, because it's not scary anymore. These faith questions aren't scary anymore. I don't think I was ready to jump into divorce, but I know things could have gone so bad, and he handled it beautifully, gently, and I'm so grateful, because here we are 4 years later, close, intimate, and whole as a couple, best friends, and I'm so grateful for how you handled that. The thing Erik never believed or hoped that could happen happened 2 years ago, when we and our children resigned our membership of the church and declared our independence.
My name is Erik.
And I'm Shaunalei, and we survived a crisis of faith, and we're stronger for it.
We're the Andersen family, and we're Ex Mormons.